Okay, so I'm going to be filling in your notes today. You should be filling them in as well. I'll be checking tomorrow to see that your notes are completed. And then you're going to use these notes to answer the back of this page. Okay, so to be able to do the like calculations you have to be able to do for this unit, you have to remember how to do scientific notation. You should have learned how to do this in a previous grade, but we're going to review it before we move into our like calculations. So the rule for scientific notation things is there has to be one non-zero digit to the left of the decimal, followed by something to the power of 10, meaning times 10 to an exponent, like that. Okay, so for example, something that would be scientific notation would be like 1.5 times 10 to the third. That is one number that is not a zero in front of the decimal, and it's times 10 to an exponent. So that's proper scientific notation. You could also have something like 7.2 times 10 to the negative 2. Oop, put 3. Negative 2 like that. So that's still one number that isn't zero. It's a 7.2 times 10 raised to an exponent, a negative 2. All right, something that would not be scientific notation correctly would be like 12.65 times 10 to the third. There are now 2 digits in front of the decimal. That is not correct scientific notation. The decimal always has to be after only one digit that isn't zero. Okay, so if those things are true, let's practice doing this one. So I need to move the decimal to where only one number that isn't zero is in front of the decimal. The decimal is always at the end, right? So it's here. I need to move it to here. That's what it's going to move to. All right, so I know that I'm going to end up with it being 4.5. But it's going to be times 10 to some kind of exponent, and I don't know that yet. So I have to hop this decimal back and figure out how many times it had to move, and that will be my exponent. So I take my decimal, and I'm going to hop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It took me 7 hops to get there. So I put times 10 to the 7th. Okay, now if you want to check it to make sure you're right, because sometimes kids get confused, it should be a positive 7 or a negative 7. Well, these two numbers right here are equal to each other. They are the same number. They just are written in 2 different forms, standard notation and scientific notation. Okay, so to prove to yourself that you know what this means, if it's a positive exponent, that means that the decimal should go this way. Okay, it's going to make the number bigger. So if I was to practice writing this one out, put 4.5 down here, and I'm going to hop the decimal that way 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I fill in the zeros, put in the commas. Yeah, like that. Okay, so now I have the 6 zeros that I had before. And you're like, yep, must have chose the right exponent. Okay, now this one. Decimal's here. I need to move it to where there's only one number that isn't a zero in front of it. So this is the first non-zero number, which is 1. So I want the decimal to be in front of it. That's where it needs to be. So then I'll end up with 1.50. If there is any numbers after it, you just keep writing them. If this was 0, 2, 3, 4, then I would keep all those 0, 2, 3, 4. You keep all the numbers after the decimal. Okay, so it'll be 1.50 times 10 to the what? Okay, well, how many times did I just have to hop it? I just had to hop it 1, 2, 3, 4. I just had to hop it 4 times. So I put a 4. Okay, but here's our, is it a negative or a positive exponent thing? This is a littler number. These two numbers are equal to each other. They represent the same number. So I need this to represent that. Well, this positive exponent is telling me to hop the decimal this way, and that's not true. That would make it a bigger number. I actually need the decimal to hop back this way. I need to hop backwards and make the number small. So I know this needs to be a negative exponent to make that tiny number. And to prove it to myself, I'll write it off to the side right here, and I will hop it back 4, because negative 4 means I hop it back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I fill in those zeros, and it has those 3 zeros in front of it that it had before. Okay, now let's go the other direction. If I have scientific notation and I want to take it out, Normally, we don't need to do that. Normally, we need to put things into scientific notation. But just so you get the purpose of how do I move it back out, remember we just hop it the right number of times. So this is 5 times, positive direction. So positive means I'm going to make the number bigger. So I'm going to hop it this way to make the number bigger. So grab my decimal, hop it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to fill in all those empty humps with zeros. So I know that my number is 970 with 3 new zeros. There we go. Oh, not showing you. Right here it is. Okay. Next one. Okay, so this is a negative exponent. Negative exponents means I'm going to make the number smaller. I'm going to hop it back the other way, making the number smaller than 6. Okay, so I take my decimal and I hop it back 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to fill in those empty humps with zeros. Put in my decimal. So now my new number is decimal 0063330. Keeping everything that was already there. I kept all that. I just had to add those zeros in front over here. Okay, so that's how you do just regular scientific notation stuff. Now let's learn how we calculate with it, okay? So in multiplication, when I'm multiplying numbers that are already in scientific notation, you got a little trick you can do, okay? You multiply the numeric values and add the exponents. Then at the end, we can adjust to make sure it's in correct scientific notation. So what I mean, multiply the numbers. So I'm going to take this number and this number, so the beginning numerical parts before the times 10, we're going to multiply them together. Let's write that off to the side. Okay, so I got 2.200 times 7.110, or 7.10, okay? And then we're going to get an answer to that. So we'll get an answer, and it'll be times 10 to the some kind of exponent. Okay, so what exponent is going to go there? It says you add the exponents. So when you're multiplying, you add the exponents. So it had a 3 and a negative 7. So what is 3 plus a negative 7? 3 plus a negative 7 is negative 4. So it's going to end up being a negative 4 exponent over here, okay? So now I just need to put this in the calculator. So